Beijing, China is urging a dialogue between Sudanese factions as an apparent military coup roils. The nation.Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin said Monday that China wanted all parties in Sudan to resolve their differences through dialogue so as to maintain peace and stability of the country.
He told reporters that China would continue to closely follow the turbulence in Sudan and take necessary measures to ensure the safety of Chinese institutions and personnel there. China is a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council and major investor in Africa. The arrests on Monday of Sudan's interim prime minister and other officials plunged Sudan's fragile path to democracy into uncertainty following the 2019 ouster of longtime autocrat Omar al-Bashir. During al-Bashir's harsh rule and despite allegations of his government's human rights abuses, China was Sudan's biggest trading partner and key international partner. An apparent Sudan coup, PM, officials detained. In a statement carried by the state-run Saudi press agency, the organization said Monday that it urged Sudanese leaders to abide by the constitutional document and what has been agreed upon during the transition period. The statement comes as other nations express alarm at the arrest of Sudan's interim prime minister and other senior officials. Their whereabouts were not immediately known.
Thousands of Sudanese protesters have flooded the streets as fears of a military coup gripped the country 2 years after mass protests ousted autocrat Omar al-Bashir, who ruled Sudan with an iron fist for 3 decades. The 57-nation OIC is based in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Berlin, Germany has demanded an immediate halt to the apparent military coup underway in Sudan. German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas condemned the attempted takeover in the vast East African country and called the news dismaying. This attempted coup must end immediately, he said, urging all those who bear responsibility for security and state order in Sudan to continue the peaceful political transition process in Sudan toward democracy. The statement Monday was one of several from other nations expressing concern about the arrest of Sudan's interim prime minister and other senior officials. Their whereabouts were not immediately known. Thousands of Sudanese protesters have flooded the streets as fears of a military coup gripped the country 2 years after mass protests ousted autocrat Omar al-Bashir, who ruled Sudan with an iron fist for 3 decades. Since 2019, Sudan has been navigating a fragile transition to democracy. Cairo, the United Nations mission to Sudan has issued an emphatic rebuke of what it called an ongoing coup in attempts to undermine the Northeast African nation's fragile democratic transition. The first reports about a possible military takeover began trickling out of Sudan before dawn Monday. By mid-morning, the Information Ministry confirmed that the Prime Minister, Abdallah Hamdok, had been arrested and taken to an undisclosed location. Several senior government figures were also detained, the ministry said in a Facebook post. It said their whereabouts were unknown. The reported detentions of the Prime Minister, government officials, and politicians are unacceptable, said the recently formed UN political mission, which has a mandate to assist the country's political transition and protect human rights. The mission called on Sudan's security forces to immediately release those who have been unlawfully detained or placed under house arrest and urged all parties to exercise utmost restraint. Diplomats have joined in a chorus of concern over the events that rocked Sudan on Monday, as Sudanese security forces detained senior government officials in undisclosed locations and thousands flooded the street in protest, 2 years after mass demonstrations helped topple former autocrat Omar al-Bashir. Cairo, the Arab League has released a statement of deep concern about the apparent military coup in Sudan. The Secretary General of the 22-member bloc, Ahmed Abul-Gheit, urged all parties on Monday to fully abide by the constitutional declaration signed in August 2019, which had aimed to pave the way for a transition to civilian rule and democratic elections following the ouster of longtime autocrat Omar al-Bashir. There are no problems that cannot be resolved without dialogue, Abul-Gheit said after Sudan's military detained the country's interim prime minister along with other top cabinet officials and protesters poured into streets of the capital, Khartoum. It is important to respect all decisions and agreements that were decided upon, refraining from any measures that would disrupt the transitional period and shake stability in Sudan, the statement added. Cairo, the European Union has joined the United States in expressing grave concern about a possible military takeover underway in Sudan. EU Foreign Affairs Chief Josep Borrell tweeted on Monday that he's following events in the Northeast African nation with the utmost concern, after reports emerged that Sudanese military forces had detained several senior government officials, including the interim prime minister. The EU calls on all stakeholders and regional partners to put back on track the transition process, Borrell wrote, referring to Sudan's fragile transition from autocracy to democracy after the ouster of longtime ruler Omar al-Bashir in 2019. Earlier, U.S. Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa Jeffrey Feltman said Washington was deeply alarmed and indicated that a military coup would threaten American aid to the impoverished country.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.